My name is Tony Potter. I was in the U.S. Navy. I was an Engineman 3rd class. I was in the Vietnam era. I got to my first base in Vietnam in February of '69. And at that time, they were expecting to have another Tet offensive. Tet is the Vietnamese New Year, which is in February. And in February of '68, there was a large offensive in Vietnam. A lot of our soldiers and sailors, Marines were killed during that time. A lot of the cities fell during that time. They expected another one in '69, but it really didn't happen. But we were on high alert during Tet. I enlisted. Well, I had quit high school in my senior year. Went to work in Chattanooga at a foundry, and after a while realized that wasn't getting me anywhere. So I went and enlisted in the Navy. Well, the Navy would take a person that didn't have a high school diploma. Some of the other branches would not. While I was in the Navy, though, I was able to get my GED, take the test and pass, and got my GED while I was in. I had basic training in California, San Diego, and after that I went to a school for Engineman, which is like a mechanic on engines, diesel mostly, and had 4 months training in that. Well, Vietnam was large at that time, and most of us suspected that we would probably end up there, probably on a ship somewhere off the coast. Not necessarily, which I found out later was true. Landed at Saigon, Tan Son Nhut Air Base Airport, and then from there, other sailors and myself were just spread at different bases. My first station was up at a place called Tan My. It was a mobile base. We had 10 river patrol boats there. The boats would go out 2 at a time for 12 hours. So it's 12 hours on, 12 hours off, then 12 on and 18 off. So in that way, we patrolled both day and night the waterways. We had 3 major waterways to patrol there out of our base at Tan My. Oh yeah, scared to death. It was hot, it was smelly. The streets there in Saigon was just crowded with little motorcycles and little Lambrettas and little cars, and a lot of smoke, a lot of terrible smells. We stayed there for about 4 days, I think, before we were assigned to our other different bases. Totally different. Something I didn't expect, really didn't know what to expect. Well, on the river patrol, I was an engineman on a boat. Our boats were 31-foot patrol boats, fiberglass. We could run in 9 inches of water at full speed. We ran about close to 40 knots, and the shallower the water, the faster the boats would go. And in the monsoon seasons, we could drive right through the rice paddies because they would be flooded. We rescued people sometimes out of their little huts and things that were flooded in the flood zones. And during the time I was on the river patrol, our job was to stop sampans and boats, do searches, ask questions, check ID papers, look for contraband, arms, ammunition, things like that, because the enemy would try to use the waterways to move troops and to move ammunition and things and guns. So that was our job, was to stop and search, and we did that kind of at random, and that was our patrol work. Well, we were sniped on at times. One time I remember the bullets got awful close to our boat and hitting the water around us, and that was the first time that I really felt scared. And then after 30 seconds, you get over being scared and you want to do something. and we were not allowed to return fire because the sniper was at the edge of a village, and with our armament on the boats, we could have burned the village down just with the incendiary rounds that we had on our 50 caliber guns. So we were not allowed to return fire. All we could do was get out of the area. The other big hazard for us on the boats was mines. We lost a boat and a crewman at another base that I was later sent to, where we patrolled the waterways there. Mines were the big thing. And about 1 o'clock one morning, one of our patrol boats hit a mine, and we lost the boat and one crewman from Oklahoma, a good friend. And that was a very hard time for all of us there in the patrol gang. Oh boy, we had at the one river there that was mined pretty heavily, my buddy and we had to go up the river every morning in a small runabout. We had 6 cases of concussion grenades. One of us would drive and the other one would toss grenades over the side. We ran up the main channel as fast as we could go, and we just tossed one grenade after another in the water. We exploded several mines doing that. We had a 6-mile run up to a city called Dong Ha, where there was a base, and Dong Ha was a port for receiving goods that would be shipped up to that city and the bases around that area in Quang Tri. And so the river had to be cleared every morning. We did the grenade run first, and then minesweepers would come after us, and they would sweep some mines sometimes also that we might have missed that were a little further out from the main channel. And that was kind of a scary time, because I was always kind of afraid that we would hit a mine. But several times we would explode mines, usually up ahead of us, because the concussion would just cause a pressure difference in that mine, which is how they were set off. And we'd have a big water spout there in front of us several times, and that was always a scary time for me. I think I received a Navy Achievement Medal, a Combat Action Ribbon, a Good Conduct Medal. Luckily, I didn't get a Purple Heart. Of course, you get a National Defense Medal for being there, and 2 campaign ribbons, a campaign ribbon and a Vietnam service ribbon. By mail, and there was something there that some people may not know about called the Mars station. Mars was like a ham radio station, and I did get to call home at least one time on the Mars station and talk to my mother. It was one-way communication. It wasn't like being on a telephone. We'd talk a little bit, and then we'd have to say over, and then my mom would talk a little bit, and she would have to say over. And the time was limited on this. I think we would only have about 5 minutes on a call, because there were so many other people waiting to use the Mars ham station. Well, nothing I did, but my mom was praying for me, and I know other people at home was praying for me, and I think that really saw me through. I spent a total of 2 years in Vietnam at different stations. Well, besides my time in Vietnam, everything else was spent going to schools. I had a 4-month class of Vietnamese language in Monterey, California. And of course, the Engineman school in Great Lakes, Illinois was about 4 months. Had some other temporary duties there that I don't hardly remember. I was stationed at Memphis, Tennessee. At the time that I got out, I was there for a little while at the Naval Air Station. Inside Vietnam, I had 3 different duties. My second duty after the river patrol was with the Naval Advisory Group, and we would go out on the patrol boats and teach the South Vietnamese Navy sailors how to do boat operations, set ambushes, things like that. And after that time there, my last station was at a place called Binh Thuy, and Binh Thuy was a repair facility. So we worked on engines. We took the engines out of the boats that needed to be changed out and put new engines in. rebuild engines in, and then got the boats back in the water. That was my last station before I rotated back to the U.S. for discharge. There wasn't a lot of humor to be had, really. It was kind of all work, and if you weren't working, you were probably sleeping. We had it good, though, and the Navy has the best food there. We used to have helicopter crews drop in at our base at lunchtime just to eat with us, because they knew we had some of the best food in country. There were clubs there if people could go, and in the evenings to the clubs, which I didn't do, but they would have drinking there. We had USO shows would show up now and then at our bases, and I don't remember seeing anyone famous there, but I did get to see Bob Hope and Raquel Welch when I was in California, just about the end of our basic training. They let us go to a big coliseum where they were performing. I was so far away from them, though, you could hardly make out who it was, but that was a lot of fun anyway. Not in detail. I was just at Memphis, Tennessee waiting. I knew that I was going to be discharged, and I was able to be discharged about 4 or 5 weeks earlier than my scheduled discharge date of 4 years. So got out just a little bit early and headed home. Worked at a little store in town, the Carium West Firestone store, for a while, and then they kind of talked me into going to college, so I went to Bryan College for 1 year. Yes, had a lot of close friends, had some friends in the Vietnamese Navy that we worked with, and I have not kept in touch with them. I did keep in touch for a while with one of the men that I served with. He lived in Arkansas, and it was a long time, though, before we ever got together and met up and talked. You know, it's just a little bit awkward. I guess you just kind of want to forget about everything there. You kind of leave it behind, and the guys that suffer from PTSD are probably the people that had a hard time leaving that behind. But I think I did pretty well in leaving it behind. It's just something you don't talk about, you don't think about it a lot. After I got out of college, I worked at a local factory in Dayton for a short time, Lazy Boy, and then after that I went to TVA and got an apprenticeship in the arm workers. So I was a union arm worker for 25 years. Well, it gave me a sense of accomplishment in thinking that I did something for my country. Tried to be a good representative of the United States in Vietnam and everywhere I went. It makes me appreciate our military services and our service members that sacrifice an awful lot when they leave home and go to serve the country. I do have a greater appreciation for military men, for the service branches, because that's what helps to keep our nation free. Well, it's always been a part of me, I guess. You never, as a veteran, you never think that you're, alone. You have a lot of friends out there that were veterans also. And there's a lot of service organizations that a person that's been in the military can join, the VFW or the American Legion. I'm a member of the American Legion, and I have a lot of camaraderie there with other veterans. We just all have something in common. Well, I have the greatest respect for our World War II veterans, and another group of veterans that gets left out so much is the Korean veterans. They weren't as many of them, but they endured some terrible hardships. And I have a special place for the Korean veterans also. The Vietnam veterans, that's my group. And, it's a long time when I came home before I really wanted to talk to anyone about Vietnam. Now, if they were there, you could talk to them because you understood each other. But somebody that wasn't there, it's hard to talk to about Vietnam. You just couldn't express to them what it was like there. And my service there was not nearly as bad as some. I had a good friend here from Dayton, went to high school with. He was killed in Vietnam, and I've always remembered that. And every Veterans Day we remember Randall Perry. Well, I feel like I did what I should have done. I enlisted. If I hadn't enlisted, I probably would have got drafted. Don't know that for sure, but probably would, because this was 1968 when I went in, and we didn't wind down over there till the 70s. I don't remember the year, 74 or 5. But it was. It's good to know that I feel like I did my part. Well, it's a time that people, I think, should honor our servicemen, because they have sacrificed, whether they were drafted or whether they enlisted. And it's a time that we remember our veterans. We need to promote patriotism in our country, which I think it's kind of on the wane right now. And I hope it won't continue to do that. I hope that Veterans Day will be special to people, whether you served or whether you didn't serve. It's a time that we remember those that did serve and show appreciation. It always is a good feeling when people find that you served and they say thank you for your service. That's a common statement that veterans hear a lot, and I usually try to respond by saying it was my privilege to serve.